You're watching the Action Sports Jacks 24/7 network. Now it's time for the Brent Austen Show.
Well, starting the morning off with some pretty big news. Azeez Al-Shaair going to be suspended 3 games for his hit on Trevor Lawrence. I'm not going to read all that, Hamby. I appreciate it. People can read that at home. At the end of the day, I don't think it's enough, but maybe I'm a little biased. This isn't the first time he's had a run-in with cheap or dirty hits, and I think the sentence should be more. But that's just my opinion. Were you surprised there's only 3 games, Hamby?
No, I thought it was. I thought
it was gonna be right on the point.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is this? Do we know? Is this first time being suspended?
As far as I know, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I guess if this is technically your first offense of getting suspended, maybe 3 games. Obviously, it's going to be a heavy blow. I mean, he is one of the I say respected. He is one of their captains in that locker room. One of their defensive studs on that team. Welcome to the Brent Austen Show, everybody. I'm Austin Lane. We got Jason Hamby pushing all the right buttons. Brent Martineau will be here in a little bit. Jaguars Twitter is lively, man. People are pissed. There's comments now from the Texans head coach had some things to say. Hamby, let's just get right into it, man, because I feel like this is, obviously the suspension's big, but I feel like people want to go after right now DeMeco Ryans for his comments about Trevor Lawrence and the Jaguar sideline.
With the entire Azeez, situation, we stand behind Azeez and everything, that came from that. Of course, he unfortunately hit on the quarterback, but it's also it's twofold, right? I mean, a lot of the quarterbacks in this day and age, they try to take advantage of the rule where they slide late and they try to get an extra yard. And you're a defender. A lot of onus is on the defender, right? Whether it's on the sideline or where it's on the quarterback, you don't know what a guy's thinking. You don't know if a guy's standing up and he's continuing to run. You don't know. And then you get a late slide and you hit the guy. Unfortunate that Trevor got hurt. We hope Trevor is okay, but it's also, if we're sliding, we have to get down. If we're getting out of bounds, we get out of bounds. And that rule is there to protect the quarterbacks. And we want our quarterbacks to be safe in the league. So we just have to be safe. And we're sliding, make sure we're keeping our heads down. So, and the entire thing is, Azeez hits the guy, but their sideline overreacts. And it turns into a melee. It wasn't our guys. It's their team overreacted, pushed our guy, dragging our guy to the sideline. So that's uncalled for on that side. We have to be better on the sidelines as well with both teams.
Okay, Hamby, before I really sink my teeth into this, your thoughts?
Kind of a clown show.
Clown show. Yeah, that's a good way to put it. That's a fantastic way to put it. Clown show, right? And obviously people are pissed, rightfully so, at what DeMeco Ryans said. At the same time, though, and this is where the former player comes out, I guess I'm not too surprised, because what do I always say, Hamby, is one of the key attributes to being a head coach in the NFL. And what is one of the key attributes I've always said on this show in terms of what players want more than anything out of their coach?
You backing the player.
Thank you very much.
Defending the player.
Defending the player. Players, yeah, they're grown men. They make a lot of money. But they're still, I don't want to say sensitive, but they still appreciate the fact when a coach goes out of their way to have their back. Dan Campbell, prime example. Mike Tomlin, prime example. DeMeco Ryans here, prime example. And Jaguars fans, I get it. You can go ahead and go on all the mentions, and you can talk all this smack, and you can say he's a horrible coach or anything. Here's what I know about DeMeco Ryans. Dude had a pretty storied career in the NFL. I played against him a couple of times. He played at Houston for an amount of years. He knows what it means to be a Houston Texan. And in his first 2 years of coaching, he's probably going to go back-to-back as a division winner. It's a pretty damn good resume. Now, should he not have blamed Trevor for sliding late? Should he have not pointed the finger at the Jaguars sideline? Absolutely. But I guarantee he doesn't care. And do you know why? Because that is a classic example right there of a guy coming hell or high water is going to have his players back, right? What coach is going to go out there and say, yeah, Al-Shaair, he's kind of had a history a little bit. He's kind of a dirty player. He's one of our captains, but I don't feel good about it. No one. Because it's called defending your player, okay? So, Jaguars fans, I understand. There's frustration. You want to point the finger and say he's a bad coach. Well, he's not, because he's going back-to-back as a division winner in 2 years. So that's a pretty damn good coach as far as I'm concerned. And you can't fault a guy for defending his players. On the other side of things, do we have a guy right now who's defending anybody? Do we have a guy right now who's going to bat for Jerry and Jones for getting fined? Do we have a guy right now who's trying to implement, hey, that hit on Trevor, that can't happen?
No, and no.
No. So what are we talking about? Hey, Jaguars fans, how about we stop directing our attention to the Houston Texans, where I hate to tell everybody, are worlds ahead of you right now, and you start directing your attention to the real problem, and that's the culture and the coaching here in Jacksonville. What's up, Brent?
Yeah, what's up? I disagree with you there, though.
Let's go.
Yeah,
Come on.
I mean, the D'Amico stuff is disgusting, really, I think. It's one thing to defend your player after the game, and I thought he should have even said, hey, we hope Trevor's okay, and acknowledge that, just like C.J. Stroud did. But I think to sit there and say that the Jags sideline overreacted and that the quarterback needs to get down and kind of put blame on the quarterback is not right.
This is coaching 101, though, Brent. He's taking the attention. What do you mean, yeah? He's taking the attention off his team, putting it on the Jaguars and saying, we're not at fault. I'm not saying it's right. It's wrong. But the players in that locker room respect it. And guess what? The players in that locker room, it's really all that matters.
Yeah, I mean, that's fine with his team. I don't know if he needs to say it in front of a microphone. I think it makes the organization that's looked bad already for the last few years at times, big time bad, look bad. I mean, not everybody's – it's not just a Jacksonville thing, the way people were reacting to D'Amico Ryan's comments. I mean, other people were saying, what are you doing, man? Like, that's – are you serious? Like, are we watching the same play? I get it in a locker room and maybe even defending Al-Shaair right there, right? I mean, I do understand defending your player. And I even spoke on that yesterday and tweeted about it last night. But I was stunned by his comments to be able to go as far again as to say, I mean, both these coaches just don't acknowledge the situation when it comes to Jari and Jones on Doug, but also this. I mean, yes, everybody's going to react that way. Like, everybody should react that way. You know it. We talked about it for 3 hours yesterday. Mm-hmm. So to acknowledge that, like, they overreacted when your quarterback takes a shot, man. I'm not hoping C.J. Stroud takes a shot, but I'm interested the next time he does how their football team responds.
Of course, if this was reversed and Devin Lloyd lays the cheap shot on C.J. Stroud, then yeah, you would have heard a different D'Amico Ryans. No doubt about it. He's a player. He understands it. But, like, I'm not going to put my focus on D'Amico Ryans anymore. There's no reason to. Why? Because he's the coach of your divisional opponent who beat you twice this year? Like, I don't care. I'm more concerned about what we have here in Jacksonville than what D'Amico Ryans is doing. Congratulations. You probably won another division title. You're a pretty good coach. I get it. You don't say the right things. I disagree with them, but I can't fault the resume. I can't fault what the resume says.
Yeah, but I'm not going to go sit here and defend D'Amico Ryans.
I'm not defending D'Amico Ryans. I'm saying I don't care about D'Amico Ryans.
Yeah, I guess. I do. I mean, I think it's a rivalry. I think if Tennessee said this, I think it's why people didn't like Jeff Fisher. I mean, I think this is what it's about. This is what, yes, Sunday should have been about. It should be about the next 2 years, 3 years, 5 years. It should be about this rivalry and what D'Amico Ryans said and the way Doug reacted after the game and showing respect to D'Amico Ryans and their football team and the lack of respect I think D'Amico Ryans showed this football team and this franchise. I think game on. I mean, I think rivalry on. I mean, and that's why we were so. That's why we're so fired up that the Jags didn't do more or Doug didn't do more. And I think actually all D'Amico did yesterday is instead of de-escalate it, I think he just inflamed it a little bit more. Now, will the players take it that way? I don't know. I think everybody in town's taking it that way. I'm bothered by it. I think the fans are bothered by it. I don't know if the players are bothered by it at all. It looks like the league is the one that was bothered by it more than anybody between these two organizations, quite frankly. Mm-hmm. 3-game suspension.
They were a lot more bothered by it than Doug was.
Yeah, again, I think that at least in front of a microphone, right? I mean, we don't know behind the scenes of what he was saying and doing and all that stuff, but But yeah, publicly, I think the league had the back of Trevor Lawrence and said that was a bad hit and agreed with the fans here in Jacksonville more than anybody else so far in this situation. So, I mean, and I think it's actually a justified suspension. I think I was surprised to see it 3 games. Everybody's like, he's definitely getting suspended. I'm like, I don't know. The way everybody's talking about this, I'm not sure. Like, I don't know if the Jags go pound, the pulpit for that. Like, hey, we need, you better be suspending this guy. I don't know how that works, but I was a little surprised to see 3 games.
And the statement
You don't
was
think it was
pretty
enough?
scathing.
Oh, you think it was enough?
Oh yeah, I think it was justified. I think it was. I thought it was going to be like a 1-game suspension.
I thought it was going to be at least towards the end of the season.
Did you really?
Well, I don't know how you justify player safety. You suspend Jamison Williams for 6 games for gambling. For using a server in the Detroit Lions facility, and you give him 6 games, and when you essentially cheap shot and knock a quarterback unconscious, you get 3 games. But
I think that's but it's coming from a different jurisdiction as well. Like John Runyon is in charge of that stuff.
But I'm saying from the NFL Shield,
Yeah.
if player safety is the #1 priority, and this guy's had a history of cheap shots, but whatever.
Yeah, and I think the NFL's always been a little wishy-washy in terms of that. Like, it's hard to measure up what you're going to get next. But I also thought, like, just the idea of, did you already put the statement up? There it is, yeah.
This was an intense statement.
It's
here.
a pretty loud statement, I thought, from Runyon. And you probably could read it
I'll
better
read
than
the
us.
last part, yeah. It talks about the hit, and then it says, your lack of sportsmanship and respect for the game of football and all those who play, coach, and enjoy watching it is troubling and does not reflect the core values of the NFL. Your continued disregard for NFL playing rules puts the health and safety of both you and your opponents in jeopardy and will not be tolerated.
Yeah.
It's not mincing words.
No, it really isn't. And what it does is it showcases a multiple offender, right?
Continue.
And I think what else this did to me, when you read that, I think what bothered the league and Runyon specifically here was also his interaction after the ejection, which again by the officials was ridiculous. How that didn't lead to more. They have all these eyes in the sky in the NFL right now. When concussions to the quick instant replay stuff, and you don't have somebody that notices that guy started, like the whole stadium saw it. Everybody saw it. I got video of it, and obviously we have video of it, but that thing was done until he came across the field after being ejected, and there wasn't another penalty. And I think that's a little bit of what Runyon's saying from a sportsmanship standpoint, on top of 3 times in the last couple of years, 2 times this year, including last week, a late hit well out of bounds, which, by the way, goes back to D'Amico Ryans. D'Amico Ryans' comment, you have the sound, do you already play it?
We already played it.
Okay.
Play it again.
The D'Amico Ryans sound was wild because he's talking about the quarterback and the out-of-bounds stuff and everything else. His player, this guy, just did it last week to another player, not a quarterback, 3 yards out of bounds.
Yep.
Like, it wasn't even close. It wasn't even on the edge of the boundary. So it was, it's just a wild set of circumstances. I am happy with this, though. I thought that was a loud statement. I thought that 3 games at least. I honestly, Austin, expected it to be like 1 or 2. I just was like, I'm not sure they're going to come down as hard as I think everybody wants them to. And I like that you thought it should be more, though.
I thought it should be more. I feel like it's just kind of a slap on the wrist, honestly. But
how about you? Amy? What do you
we
think?
talked about it's like the first offense. He wasn't surprised.
Yeah, I did say I thought this was right where I thought, especially because bye week. They have the bye week now, so obviously it's 3 games. So that takes him through week 17. He'll have 1 regular season game left, and then playoffs.
Well, it's a big blow, by the way, to them because maybe. I mean, it might not matter in the AFC South because of where they sit, but that next 3 games are huge for them. And they got, I think it's the Dolphins, the Ravens, the Chiefs, if I'm not mistaken. He's a good player, too, for them, and a big part of them. So, I mean, we'll see how much it impacts them. But, so, I mean, he misses 3 important games is the point. Yeah. And I think he plays the Titans late. So, yeah, I mean, is it over? I guess it's over. NFL acted kind of quick. I thought maybe it was a later today type of deal or something like that, but they acted kind of quick.
Think Doug will talk about it tomorrow?
Of course he'll talk about it, but he's not going to inflame it.
No.
You know? Yeah, I mean, it's... I guess I'm just happy the league. There's something happy about the league. Came down and had Trevor's back and Jacksonville's back a little bit more than it seemed like everything else, more to the degree than I thought everybody else had his back at times.
It's the most insane thing, though.
Yeah.
The league has Trevor and the Jags back more than their own head coach does. I think you can say that matter-of-factly.
Yeah, again, I say
our guy is still our head coach is still pointing at our player.
Yeah.
I got the soundbite if we want to hear that on a suspension on Jarian. It's insane to me.
Hit it up, Amby. I like the energy this morning.
This is
Amby coming ready to go.
This made me so mad.
You know, I'm not going to really comment on that. I think the league is going to handle these situations as they come up. I mean, just look at what happened even in college football. You know, some of these rivalry games and things of that nature over the weekend. It's unfortunate because it escalates to a level that doesn't need to be on the field. And, you know, we hold ourselves to a high regard. We're in the National Football League, defend the shield, all that stuff. And
defend the shield.
And we got to figure out a way as a league, I think, to somehow minimize or at least get these plays out of the game if possible. But, you know, it's up to the NFL, obviously the Players Association, you know, to determine what's going to happen. But, you know, at the same time, I've got to keep coaching our guys. And, you know, Jarian was, you know, kicked out of the game as well. So I got to, you know, deal with him and have conversation with him. And we just, again, emotions run high. It's a division game. It's a must-win for us, obviously for them too. Everybody's putting their best foot forward, and it's just it's something you just don't like to see on any. I don't care the quarterback, running back, it doesn't matter. Receiver, you just don't like to see these types of plays, you know, made in the game.
Do you anticipate any potential further punishment for Jarian?
I don't know. You know, obviously, you know, I'll look at it and you know, go back and watch everything and make a determination on that. I know the league will step in and you know, fine him and whoever else, you know, we'll probably, you know, get fine letters or whatever. But and maybe that's all. Maybe because that's going to be a significant hit, you know, I think, you know, coming down from the NFL. So that might be punishment enough.
Trevor might pay for that fine. Listen, Doug's been bad on the podium all year. I'm not expecting him to be good on the podium all of a sudden. The thing about, I still go back to what I said yesterday, amidst even some of the disappointment of all of this on Sunday. I do think, Doug, from a leadership standpoint, when you get out there and you're in charge of a football team and a franchise, you have to be careful what you say and how it looks. And he is an NFL guy who's been around the league for a long time. You'd have no... So I don't think he should have scolded, as we talked about yesterday, Jarian Jones. At least in the same breath, I would have applauded him for having his quarterback's back as a teammate. Didn't do it. But I wasn't put off by anything yesterday as much as I think I was on Sunday's immediate reaction to the Jarian Jones part of it. I was more put off by D'Amico Ryans, quite frankly, and what he continues to say a day later. I mean, Doug was very measured there. You know, there was no emotion.
He doubled down.
What he was saying.
He doubled down.
And
this is the thing. This isn't college football. Nobody planted a flag in the middle of the field. And we can sit here and say the Texans are the rivals. In the last 14 games against the Texans, the Jaguars are 2-12.
Unbelievable.
So that's not a rivalry. So let's get that out of our heads right now. The Texans own you. Okay? It's not a rivalry. It's simply not. Yeah, it's a divisional opponent, but it's not a rivalry. This isn't the Browns versus the Steelers. This isn't the Steelers versus the Bengals. It's not. So I'm taking that emotion out of it. What I'm saying, though, is you have one coach on Houston. Once again, I don't agree with the comments. Don't get it twisted. But is going out of his way, taking the public scrutiny with him to defend his players. And I guarantee the players in that locker room appreciate it. And you have a guy in Doug Peterson here where I guess it's all about the shield now. It's not about players defending each other. It's not about, Trevor getting cheap shotted and someone trying to make it right. It's about, okay, the fines and defending the shield. And do you think it's a coincidence that I was so critical of Dewey when he said the whole fines thing, and Doug seems to be speaking the same thing? No, it's not a coincidence.
But even then, Dewey said you love to see it. Brent, when you asked him about
that's Dewey being Dewey for a second.
Right.
And then it's Dewey going back to all right, well, this is what Coach told us, so I have to follow.
Isn't that so
John
telling?
Gordon,
One guy says, "Oh, Jordan, you love to see it." One guy says, "Oh, I gotta deal with him like he's some teenager that you got to discipline and give a lecture to." I mean, the why yesterday bothered me because he doubled down. Because when he's asked, "Hey, is there going to be an additional punishment?" He could just be like, "No, there's not going to be an additional punishment.
There shouldn't be or something, right?
There shouldn't be. The NFL is going to handle it, but inside our locker room, we were, whatever." The whole thing about the shield too is he almost seemed like a NFL spokesperson, like he was trying to defend the emblem of the NFL more than the guys in the locker room. Mm-hmm. That's what I got. Defend the shield. We're the NFL. No, we're the Jacksonville Jaguars, and we're getting bullied and everything, and we're not doing anything about it.
And this is the difference between D'Amico Ryans and Doug Peterson.
100%.
Is D'Amico Ryans a great guy? Probably not. Not after the comments that you said, but he's defending the Texans. This is a guy who played for the Houston Texans, who knows what it means to be a Houston Texan. He's defending the Houston Texans over the shield, over what the Jaguars fans think, over what I think, over what Brent thinks. Doesn't care. Team comes first. That's the difference.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. Yeah, this whole thing has been off on the Jags side. There's no doubt. Other than the last 4 minutes or 5 minutes of the first half. I think from the locker room to now it's been off. And I think we talked a lot about that yesterday. I was stunned. I was stunned to hear the D'Amico Ryans comments. I'm not going to lie. I get what you're saying, and you're right. You're right. Like the defensive team to the nth degree. But I mean, these guys are just. I don't know, man. I keep saying this. I've said it 3 times in the last week. Between Doug, between Eberflus, between this and D'Amico Ryans. I mean, hey, you know how they do the rookie symposium?
Sure.
Around that same time, they should now do a coach one. Because these guys in front of the microphone.
You'll teach it, Brent.
Have just been awful. I mean, they've just been bad. I mean, we didn't even talk about Eberflus, which we'll get to probably a little bit later. I mean, that whole thing from Thanksgiving, it feels like a month ago now, right?
Happy trails to that one. But here's the difference, man. And once again, we can chastise this dude all we want. He's probably going to win another divisional title.
Yeah.
In 2 years.
Yeah.
And that. I don't know, man.
Yeah, in many respects, I mean, I feel like. You got to give him credit.
I don't like it. Listen, the first thing I want to do is come in here and say, forget D'Amico Ryans. You suck as a coach. I can't.
I wasn't going to do that. I wasn't going to do that. But, okay. I mean, I just feel like he missed.
Dude's got us, yeah.
But he also, I mean, I feel like he's winning a pillow fight, quite frankly. So I don't know how much credit I should give him. But I mean, you got to give him credit, I guess. I'm going to give a guy credit who an organization was absolutely in the dumpster before he got there. That was an embarrassment. That might have been the most embarrassing team in the NFL because you let a team chaplain kind of essentially run your team for a little while. J.J. Watt wanted out. DeAndre Hopkins wanted out. What happens? This dude comes in and turns it around. Didn't take 3 or 4 years. Didn't take some rebuilding. No, it happened in 1 year. You won a divisional title. Yeah.
The fact that we got 40 seconds on him trying to coach sliding is also baffling. Just because you rarely hear.
Oh, dude, it's
just like because you don't hear head coaches talk about guys on other teams.
It's unreal,
right?
Yeah.
Normally in any way, unless it's high praise because they're trying to show whatever. The fact that we got 40 seconds on how he should slide better to protect himself.
Which the craziest thing about this, and you get Texans fans, of course, they're going to see what they want to see. I mean, all you have to do is watch any still image of this. This slide was coming. I was watching from behind Trevor on the play, and I'm like, oh, he's going to slide right here. Like, I was saying it to myself because I'm like, well, you're not going to get hit. You have a bad shoulder. You're going to slide, and then it does happen fast. I will say that. The one thing I really respect around the NFL is how quick things go. In our world, we see video, and at 30 frames a second, if you fast forward this frame, this clip, one frame, he's already probably in launching position. That's how fast the game does move. But I saw it last night. I saw
happened a couple of times.
The guys just didn't even come close to hitting the quarterback. And there was probably a later slide than even this.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
So Yeah, I mean, if you're defending your guy because of the slide, that's a little different. If you're defending your guy because he's a hard-nosed football player and he plays to the edge and he plays through the whistle and blah, 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 and sometimes that's a little costly, but we like his aggressive, that's I wish we had some of those guys more, honestly, here in Jacksonville. Like, I think that I get that. And what did I say yesterday? Well, it comes with a 3-game suspension sometimes. Like, there's a fine line, and he's going to pay the price. And because of the way he plays the game, which sometimes is advantageous for your football team, he's got to now pay the fine and the suspension and lose a game check for three weeks. That's heftier than a fine, by the way.
Do you think DeMeco Ryans is going to implement any other penalties?
No.
Well, of course not.
No. But Doug better not either.
Well, I mean, we're talking about Jerry Jones. I was wondering on the other side of Houston Texans if DeMeco Ryans will go out his way to be like, hey, here's some more money you got to pay. Maybe you're sitting another game because I don't think that's going to happen. But.
No, I don't. I mean, I don't even think anything happens to Jari Jones either. I mean, I don't think Doug's doing anything to Jari Jones. Obviously, the pocketbook is going to be one way, but. What a situation, the Jaguars and the Texans. Again, I would like to say this ramps things up going forward. But it's going to be a whole new list of players. It's going to be probably a whole new coach. And honestly, if this new coach that comes into Jacksonville wants to reach out to the fans in the city and the locker room and Trevor Lawrence, next year's Houston game is a big damn game. It's the biggest one on the calendar right when the schedule comes out. But I don't know if it's going to be. See, that's what's wild to me, too. And I think I might have said this a little bit yesterday. I've talked about this so much, I don't even know where I say things. But he did that in 22. Doug did such a great job of that in 22. Why is he backed off that? And I don't know what the Saturday meetings are, but there were stories coming out of Jacksonville when they were going on that run in 22 that he showed videos of the Titans games all the way back to 1999, and they couldn't beat him. He showed video of, like, Houston winning here in Jacksonville however many times in a row. He showed video of not being able to win on the road or whatever video that he had, right? He showed video of not being able to beat an NFC team. They were like 0 for their last 17. He squashed all those things. Like, it was college-type motivation. And the Jags have lost their edge in all that. Like, Doug lost his edge in all that. Doug has lost his edge. They are not the same football team as they were in 22 for obvious reasons, but I don't think they're also treated the same way as that team that was trying to climb the mountain. They climbed the mountain. They got to as high as they could go at 8-3. They stumbled back down and then lost the fight. I mean, they just lost their way. They had nothing else to get back up again. And it's just a really weird thing because he pushed all those buttons. He played those cards. He was that guy. Like 2 years ago, I don't think he reacts this way on the podium. What changed? Why did this change? I don't understand it. I really don't understand what has changed in that respect. And see, the reason why the Doug stuff bothers so many people is because he's been so bad on the podium so many times this year. From play calling from February on to what I think has been overblown at times, but his lack of, hey, I love my quarterback, like nonstop, like other teams, like Jim Harbaugh and others have done. You don't see that.
Nope.
And I mean, he said something to us, and I'm not going to say what he said, but he said something to us on Friday after after his podium session about Trevor that was like very complimentary. And the first thing I said when he left the room was like, why doesn't he say that in front of the mic? Like, you can tell this guy loves Trevor. He loves him. Like, I can tell you, he loves that. He loves that kid. Like, he thinks he's
here because of him.
Yeah. And I'm like, why doesn't he say that? Why won't he say that in front of the mic? I don't get why. He's just misstepped the whole thing. I'll
just reiterate what I started the show off with. Players want to feel appreciated. Players want to feel like you have their back. And I think we can point to countless times this year in press conferences, and maybe it's a complete 180 from what we see behind the scenes in the locker room. But from what I see, from what the fans see in every single press conference, I think you question whether or not the players feel like Doug Peterson has their back. Once again, don't agree with what he said, but I know those players in the Houston Texans locker room know that D'Amico Ryans has their back. And that's the fundamental difference.
Yeah. Yeah.
Welcome back to the Brent and Austin Show, streaming on the Action Sports Jax 24/7 network.
Well, there's a little bit of the reaction from the Trevor Lawrence hit. Jamal Agnew, of course, didn't like it at all. Robert Griffin III either. Chase Daniel, obviously a quarterback, and got the suspension for Al-Shaair today. And John McClain is very respected, guys. I think he's retired, but still doing some work. And this was the worst one he's seen. A cheaper shot than that, which is saying a lot. And that was the level that it registered across the country. Now, there were some that defended it. You're always going to have that.
Who, the Houston Texans fans?
No, there was actually Travis Johnson, I think, former Florida State Seminole. He was like, what's wrong? But he played for Houston.
Okay.
And he was defending it a little bit.
There was a giant viral video of a coach from Last Chance U. I don't even know his name, so I'm not going to give him that much credit. But like he went on like this giant rant about saying how football is becoming soft and it's on Trevor to get down earlier and all
Is
this
it a
stuff.
bald white guy?
Yep.
Jason Brown?
Maybe.
He's all over Twitter and everything, always trying to just rage.
Is he okay? Because he
No.
seems like he's okay.
No.
Okay.
probably
I don't.
okay.
I don't know his story. Or
Anybody
anything.
who watched the show would know.
Okay, I've never seen it, so I have no idea who this guy is. I just saw the video, and yeah.
Well, how about this just came in, and I don't know if we're seeing this somewhere. I'm seeing McClain actually tweet about this. I don't know if it's a video out there, Hamby. Maybe we can try to find it, of Nick Caserio, the Houston Texans GM. And McClain says this. He said, I've never seen Nick Caserio like this, blasting the inconsistency of NFL suspensions, calls it BS, rips the league statement about Al-Shaair and the way he's being portrayed around the country. Nick is ripping ass. Doesn't say he disagrees with the suspension, though.
I'll find it.
He's ripping ass.
Yeah, I know. Interesting. Probably not the way you think, but
It's funny. So I'm sorry. Like he's at a press conference.
that's what I'm trying to find. I'm
He
just
is.
seeing this. So he's doing a press conference, which again,
Other GMs do press conferences?
GM's doing press conference. What?
but this is weird by McClain. Now again, I don't have full context of this. All right, I'm just seeing it. So in full disclosure, should we welcome you back to the Brent Austen
Azeez.
Show?
Quite frankly, it's unfair. And I'd say one of the biggest issues that, and I probably speak for a lot of teams, not only the Houston Texans, but I think that's all teams ask for is consistency from the league. And I'd say in this situation, I mean, quite frankly, there's no consistency at all relative to the level of discipline that's been handed down. So when you go back, let's look at this season. Okay, we had multiple situations, multiple examples. All right, two really good players, I would say. Branch ejected against Green Bay, right? Plays the next week against us. Okay, Derwin ejected, all right, got suspended for one game. And Derwin's a great player, and Derwin's had some other situations that have come up. And I'd say even going back here, a player that we know well organizationally here, Kareem Jackson. Kareem's a good player. Was ejected, fined, ejected, and then suspended after 3 games. So we're going to say Azeez Al-Shaair, who nobody embodies our program more than Azeez, what he's about, what he's been through. You all know his story. There's not a more selfless individual, more about the team who's earned the respects, that represents everything that we want this program to be about. I mean, this morning he was at a United Way event. So we're talking about some of the commentary that has been made about his character, about the person that he is, about what his intentions are, from people that, quite frankly, don't know anything.
So that's Nick Caserio talking I'm just moments ago.
Choke Tom Brady
About Azeez Al-Shaair, and I would follow up with this.
You choked the GOAT.
Choked Tom Brady in December 22, according to Emmanuel Acho. Hit
Get
Caleb
him.
Williams late, punched Roshan Johnson September of this year.
Get him.
Tackled Tony Pollard late last week.
Get him.
Illegal hit on Trevor Lawrence. I mean,
Get him.
Listen, that doesn't take away from his story and
Nobody
everything
embodies.
else. And listen, time out. I don't think, and I know the cesspool that Twitter can be and social media can be. Do I think this guy is going to get some unfair stuff based on his faith and other things? Yes. And I don't think that's right.
It's not.
And it's not right. But some people are morons, right? That's a different issue than this. whether this guy deserves a suspension or not. He's a multiple offender, and this is obviously a player safety initiative around the league, especially around quarterbacks. The quarterback was doing the right thing. The defender did not. And I think, according to John McClain, Nick Caserio did go on to say, or was saying, that, listen, he agrees with the suspension. He gets the suspension for the hit. But the inconsistencies is what he's so mad about. Now, this is really interesting to hear him go out of his way to praise Azeez Al-Shaair. But this talks about what you said at the top of the show. This is an organization right now defending their players. I don't know if a guy that's been a multiple offender, I'd really throw out, he embodies our organization.
Not a good look. It's not a good look when he's a captain.
That's a little bit much.
But like, that gets back to him. He appreciates that.
Yeah.
And once again,
I've got the back, right?
This is an organization just a couple of years ago that was an absolute joke.
It was.
That was a dumpster fire in every single way. You know it's bad when the golden child, a.k.a. J.J. Watt, wanted out. All right? That should tell you how bad an organization is. When, cut from the cleanest cloth ever goes, you know what? I want out of here. I don't want to be here. This organization sucks. And J.J. Watt leaves. That's how bad it was. And all of a sudden, you hire new people, you hire a new coach, you get a quarterback, and this is what you get.
Yeah. By the way, Hamby, that was off the Houston Texans YouTube channel. Is that what it was?
That's correct.
All right. Just want to make sure we credit them.
Well, give them credit
for where it was. Wow. I mean, we should give them credit. We get mad when they don't give credit to us on other shows.
Ian Rappaport.
Or call the right show.
Yeah.
So we do want to make sure we give them credit there. Listen, there's another element of this. I mean, by the way, just to catch you up, if you're just jumping in, Al-Shaair is suspended 3 games. Austin doesn't think it was long enough. I actually thought it was more than I thought it was going to be, quite frankly. And maybe this was what speaks to what Caserio's talking about, the inconsistencies.
Sure.
I just think it's wild that the GM's on the podium. Now, again, this is a bye week for them. Maybe he was talking already, and this comes up.
Yeah.
But the GM of their organization is talking at the bye week, and specifically about this hit after this moment, after this suspension. Man, I think it says a lot. I think they're really trying to turn their organization from the things that you were talking about, be more transparent, also really defend their players. I think what D'Amico Ryan said was embarrassing, quite frankly. But to your point, he did it at the risk of defending his locker room and galvanizing his locker room. I think we're very critical right now of how the Jaguars are handling their stuff in front of a microphone, or sometimes not talking in front of a microphone. We didn't even see Trent Baalke come out after he signed an extension for a left tackle on Sunday. Why couldn't he have talked Sunday morning? Celebrate it. It's a good thing, right?
It's supposed to be.
Nah, can't talk about it. I mean, all we get is really like hey, good for Walker Little from Doug Peterson. Like, how about a why? Who gave you the opportunity to do this? Does this mean it's a vote of confidence now going forward for you guys? Have you been told by Shad Khan that you're okay to make a move like this? Is this normal operating procedure? Is this normal business? Crickets.
Yeah.
So it's a really turn of 2 different organizations treating this stuff in a different way. And listen, I've been consistent with this. The Jags have missed a lot in front of the microphone this year, going all the way back to January. I will once again invite you to go read my article, actionnewsjacks.com, about what needs to change and what needs to be fixed. But they've had missteps on the mic for a whole calendar year now.
And that's what you can't downplay that. This thing right here can do so much for a player. It can do so much for an organization. It can do so much for rebuilding a culture. And, to echo what happened this morning, Azeez Al-Shaair, he gets the penalty. He gets the suspension. And there was a pretty harshly worded comment from the NFL saying, why this happened.
And he was mad at that, Caserio.
Well, and I was going to say, and I think the GM got a hold of that and said, oh, this is my guys they're talking about here? No, let me go and make this right. Once again, we don't have to agree with the Houston Texans of how they do things. We don't have to agree with what they say. We don't have to agree, of them trying to blame Trevor as Trevor's fault and it's a Jaguars sideline's fault. Anybody with eyes know that's absolute BS. But at the end of the day, what you can't fault is at least this organization is tight-knit and they have each other's back.
Yeah, they do.
And that's it.
And again, I don't have to agree with what they say. To your point, I don't think it is. It embodies the stuff that's a little over the top. They've gone over the top in Houston on some of these comments, but they're at least saying something and defending their guys and talking about it and being transparent about it. I also would say this. I would criticize Caserio a little bit, and I would think he'll get a phone call from bringing up other guys around the league. Suspensions. Like, it ain't, like he just said, Derwin James he was basically judging Derwin James. Like, he's got had some other things going on too, and was the penalty this or was the penalty that? I don't think teams are supposed to be doing that. It's like, leave our players out of your mouth. You know what I mean? I wouldn't be surprised if he gets a little heat for that. So again, I'm not telling you they're perfect on the mic, but at least they're addressing it instead of staying inside the office. And we didn't get Bulky last week after this 2-9 start and the most embarrassing loss in franchise history, keeping your job. We didn't get him after the Walker Little extension out of the blue. And while I have some respect for this isn't what we do here, we maybe talk once a year or not in the middle of the season. We'll talk after the season. Well, I've got an example of it took 2.5 weeks to talk after the season last year. And we know Shad Khan doesn't talk, and that's what Mike Mularkey on our show was bringing up. Can somebody say something? Nobody said anything. Just leaving Doug out there really to say anything, and quite frankly, he's not been the best at it. But he has to answer to a lot of different things because nobody else is saying it. So everybody on the outside is having their own interpretations of what's going on. And quite frankly, Doug can't win. I do say this, right? Doug cannot win. Like I'm trying not to bury him at every turn. And every word he says, I feel like we're taking every word he says and just, man, you should have said it better. I think he's in a no-win spot right now here in Jacksonville. And has he created some of that? Absolutely. But he could get bailed out a little bit by the other guys in charge. Maybe they could take a little bit of this. And they're not. I mean, it's basically up to the players and Doug right now to take every bullet and shield. And to that degree, before we just saw this moments ago, we were going to bring up, like, why is Mason Smith playing all of a sudden? Like, Mason Smith plays. That was really, if you wanted one change from the game, is Mason Smith played. And I think Daniel Griffiths and some other guys I saw tweeting had 39 snaps. I
got it right here.
You got the snaps?
39 snaps, 67%. That's more than any other defensive tackle. More than Devon, more than Eric.
What did Armstead have? Because I saw it was only like 20-something snaps.
30.
Oh, he had 30.
So he played half.
And he actually, PFF said he played pretty well. But, and listen, we're asking for changes. I'm not going to sit here and criticize him playing Mason Smith like everybody else is from healthy scratch. He's not necessarily been a healthy scratch. He's had an ankle injury. He's been on the report. Now, earlier this year in London, he was a healthy scratch. So it started as a healthy scratch. That's where everybody thought or some social media thought the tug of war came from on why are you playing this guy? You're not going to play this guy. Is he good? All those things. I've heard there's some more behind the scenes stuff that led to that. And then there was an ankle injury in practice that led to the other stuff. So I think some more of the Mason Smith not playing makes some sense.
It wouldn't have been a story if he wasn't in on the last play, the 3rd and 5.
Yeah, but he was in on 39 of the plays. He was your guy.
I know,
aren't you? Like, the way Armstead plays, Austin, isn't it better that at least you tried something else because Armstead hasn't been that good anyway?
Yeah, I mean, you have to try the other. I mean, it's better that you have tried something else, yeah. And with Armstead, like, we may never know what happened there. Like, what we do know, like, he was playing out of position. I mean, anybody with eyes could tell you that. We do know, at least according to Eric Armstead, that they wanted him to play, defensive end and everything like that. But we don't know in terms of injury if it was I have no idea, man. Like, it'll be one of the biggest anomalies, I feel like, in Jaguars history is what the hell happened with Eric Armstead that season.
Yeah, and by the way, they got him around for a little bit longer too. I mean, so what do they do?
Are you pot committed? Do you think you're pot committed to him?
Well, I think the contract kind of says that you are for at least next year. I got to go back and look at that one. I haven't really done a lot of that yet. I was hoping we could avoid that. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know what they're going to do, and I think it just depends which regime. I do know this: if this regime's staying around, he's definitely staying around because they're going to try to be proven right.